Good morning. Is it Saya?
SAG, Your Honor.
SAG. Okay. Good. Mr. Holmes, your background picture on the beginning is all too happy. You need to change that.
Well, it's misleading, Your Honor. I will say that.
Very good. All right. Good morning, gentlemen. This is cause number 23061. Style Wallace Pahlman, Heidi Pahlman, and Hank Siding LLC versus Real Vest LLC, Emerald Surf Sciences et al. This is on the third motion to compel. And I apologize, I had a hearing that ran a little bit over. So, anyway.
Yeah. Your Honor, if I may, good morning.
Good morning.
This is a catastrophic collision over in front of Wiley Primary School. February would be a couple of years ago that this happened. Mr. Pahlman was at that red light there in front of Wiley when Mr. Crum, who was driving for this defendant, Emerald Surf Services, was en route from a location, an oil field location down near Nacogdoches. And he had made his way through Garrison and Mount Enterprise, then turned north to Henderson. And he was approaching the Wiley school zone. The school zone signs weren't active yet, but it was already pushing up on that time. There were lots of folks picking up and dropping off, school buses coming in and out. Mr. Pahlman was stopped at the red light, waiting for it to clear. Mr. Crum, according to the GPS data on his truck, and according to the ABS data from his vehicle that we downloaded as well, approached the school at 70 miles an hour. He entered the 55 zone at 70 miles an hour. He did not brake as he approached the school. He did not brake as he approached the red light. He did not brake as he approached Mr. Pahlman. He slammed into the back of Mr. Pahlman at 70 miles an hour. His testimony was that he recalls nothing, basically from Garrison all the way to Henderson. There are no skid marks. There's no signs of evasive action of any kind. According to the investigating officers, the crash bears all the hallmarks of either distracted driving or, in his opinion, more likely some form of impaired driving. We've tried to discover any source of distraction in the vehicle. The officer and the other witnesses ruled out there was no one else in the car. There was no sign he was trying to eat his breakfast or food. There were no pets in the vehicle, anything of that nature. We've investigated his cell phone usage and found no cell phone usage that morning. But that, given his testimony of limited recall, and also the testimony of one of the firefighters on scene that he reported that he had been, quote, taking some medicine that made him feel funny. Coupled with the fact that when he reached the emergency,
Made him feel what?
made him feel funny, he said.
Okay.
Well, when he reached the emergency room in Henderson, he began to report that he thought he had fallen asleep. And so that's been the testimony so far. We have viewed it, the Pahlman family has viewed this as a fatigue case from the very beginning. We know from discovery that Mr. Crum had been working a lot of hours in the month of January, and he was coming off his third consecutive 15-hour shift down in Nacogdoches when this crash occurred. So we've asked for some very specific items to address these concerns about fatigue. And one of them is this. We know from the documentation provided that employees like Mr. Crum are compensated for their time driving to and from a well site that they service for the company. We also know they are not compensated for their time when they're simply commuting to the company yard there in Keithville, Louisiana. So the incentive to the employees to be on the road after they leave the location is obvious. They'll get paid overtime for that traveling back and forth, as opposed to if they camp somewhere nearby, say in a hotel. What we've tried to explore is the financial incentive to the company as well. And what we've discovered so far is that the company has a master service agreement with its clients, and they provide services on the locations. They charge their customer a flat day rate for their crew and their equipment. And I have been provided a copy of the MSA and a copy of some invoices to document both of those things. What I have not been provided is any documentation that would explain how the obvious overtime that's being paid to these employees is factored into the day rate, or how the overtime paid to these employees may be turned into a profit center for the company as well as the employee. And that's our suspicion as to why this is going on. So we've asked for that, and all we've received so far, Your Honor, has been an MSA with this one customer, and I said a couple of invoices. They do show a flat rate charge to the customer, but we know that the company is also paying overtime. They're paying fuel charges. They're paying lodging for employees who elect to stay on the road. And there's been some mention of a per diem paid to the employees. All of those things have to be factored into that day rate. I can't imagine it's otherwise. So that's what we're looking to see, is how that's factored in there, and to see if the way that's done is creating an incentive for the company to have these drivers on the road as opposed to in a hotel when they finish their shift. The second thing we've asked for is from that same category. The company has a very detailed fatigue management plan in their handbook. It specifically says that they will manage their job assignments and the rotations and the work schedules to control fatigue and allow their employees opportunity to get sufficient sleep. That's their standard. I have been provided with a printout that shows me the names of all the hands that worked on this particular location the week of the crash. What I have asked for is a similar document that would show me the names of the hands that worked on other locations that week. For the obvious reason, I want to compare who's at which location, and did the company actually manage the assignments to make sure that folks were assigned to the most local job site. So, for example, on this location Mr. Crum was working, he's driving back and forth from Kilgore, north of Kilgore. There's another hand driving back and forth from Overton, and two other hands are driving back and forth from near Shreveport, all the way to Nacogdoches. What I want to know is what other locations were active that week and who was servicing those locations. And all I've been provided on that so far is I've got some employee lists, and I've got some, as I said, the one list that shows me specific for this location who was there. And what I'm being told, I don't want to speak from Mr. Sayegh too much, but what I'm being told and what I understand is that they don't think they have any sort of current document that they can just hand me that will show me that, which may be the case. That's what he tells me. I don't doubt it. But there have got to be documents similar to what's already been provided to me that can be provided to show for each other location that week, they know where their crews were. That's what I'd like to see. Who was there? Where do they live? So I can judge their drive time to see if the company is following its own rule of managing job assignments and rotations.
All right, let's take these one at a time to make it easier for the court to make it. All right. If you'll respond, Mr. Solid, to this first item Mr. Holmes spoke to.
And just to clarify, that was the item regarding the calculation of the different pay rates for the company.
Yes.
All right. Well, again, Your Honor, we've already provided him the master service agreement. And so again, from what he's describing, that again, and as we objected to in discovery, is confidential business information. How they calculate, how they charge their clients is going to be confidential business information. And again, in his motion, he failed to provide any reason why our objection should not stand. And again, the information there that he's seeking is the same information that the company's clients would receive, which is.
Let me say this, and I'll order that to be provided, but Mr. Holmes, I'll order you to provide or perhaps defendant will provide it. Mr. Holmes, you'll sign a non-disclosure or on that agreement on that. That will not be provided or disseminated, and that if it is filed in any matter with the court, then it'll be sealed. So as not to violate any matters that might get into other hands in that matter.
We can do that, John.
All right, Mr. Saylor, do you want to prepare, an order for Mr. Holmes on that, or would you want him to prepare the non-disclosure order or confidentiality order?
Let me get with my client's general counsel for them to do it because he has been very particular about what goes out and I got to respect that.
Absolutely, and the court does so too. Okay. All right, the second matter,
The
it's
second matter being,
the locations and employees at other locations.
the employees at other locations. Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor. Again, so what was provided to him is again what they have readily available. They do not know how they would go out and pull all of where each individual was. So what he received at the beginning was a sheet for that specific job, because that was the job that Hunter Crum was on, and that I think that's the document he's referring to. We have provided him to show kind of or what my client does keep, which is basically what district people were deployed to. And we have produced that. My client did indicate though, because that they do not have any kind of just ongoing documents that would show what job they have where, and what job each person is deployed to at any given time. And they said the only way to do that would basically be to just go in through each individual invoice. And again, so that would cause them to have to produce a bunch of other documents that again would not necessarily be relevant in this case.
Mr. Holmes.
If I may, let me show you what I've got. Maybe this will help. If I can share the screen.
Is it share? There we go. Okay.
Can you see that now, Your Honor?
Yes, I can.
So you can see at the bottom, it's got the base number 730 on it. And this is actually a spreadsheet was provided in not a native format. So these are the first columns on the left. Over here has the date and they're identifying unit numbers and their customer. So you can see here as an example, this is the Athon location. It's got the well name, the Emerald Surf's job number. We go to the next page, it continues, and then you see the 4 crew members that were assigned to that location for this range of dates right here. So there is documentation that can be provided that would show me. All you have to do is generate this same list with locations. I mean, this is not limited by location. This was limited by date, apparently. But it's got a range of locations that tells me who's there. And, I'm sensitive to burden, and Mr. Seig has they've done a lot of work in this case, but it's called for. But I find it hard to believe they can't locate their own employees for a given week. I didn't ask for a year's worth of information. I want to know where they were that week so I can see if they're in the right spots.
All right. And what is the week?
It's this week. Well, it's actually the week is.
That's a month.
This
Yeah.
is a month. Well,
Yeah.
actually, it would be more telling if we had it for a month. If that's too much for the court's comfort, I can start with the week, which runs here at the February the 10th.
All right, I'll order that for the week of February 10th. All right. All right, Mr. Holmes, what is your next issue?
We have about 4 other specific items, Your Honor. And the answer, we've been exchanging some information this morning. The answer to these may be they don't have them. I don't know. But I want to get it clarified where we stand on this.
All right.
One is the witnesses have testified that each customer they serve had their own set of safety rules. And each witness has testified that customers don't allow them to be on location more than 12 hours a day. There's also been extensive testimony of Mr. Crum about training courses he took for particular customers. He went on length about some 5-hour course he took for Chesapeake on fatigue management. He also testified about examinations he had to take when he completed all that safety training for his customers. I have asked for any safety rules and regulations pertaining to hours of service, driving behaviors, things of that nature that Athon, the customer for this location, gave to Emerald Surf. I don't have any of those.
In that one, I think, again, I emailed again, Josh Burrows again this morning, who's our client's rep. He reached out. He doesn't know if, and he's so far from what he's found, none of that doesn't exist.
All right. I'll
He
order,
says that he thinks Athon might be too small.
all right, I'll order those produced if available, if in possession of the defendant. All right.
There's also been testimony, Your Honor, that Mr. Crum, the driver in this case, sent an email to his supervisor on the day of the crash, and then he attached copies of himself and the vehicles. I have some photographs that may go with such an email, but I do not have such an email.
All
I thought that was already produced, and the fact that it hasn't. So let me get back with Josh Burrows to see if we can identify that specific email, and I'll make and if it's already been produced, then I'll make sure we single it out for Mr. Holmes.
All right, very good.
Similarly, Your Honor, I asked for any communications with the customer reporting the crash or what had happened. I haven't received anything responsive to that.
All right.
I don't know if that one was actually in your motion to compel. Let me check. Let me see.
Mr. Holmes, are you referring to a specific number or paragraph?
It's on page 2, Your Honor, the 4th bullet point from the top. Any communication with defendant's customer regarding the crash of February the 16th. Customer's Athon.
Yeah, that one is not matched to a specific request in the request for productions that you're seeking to compel on. And then you do reference 33 and the one above it. That one does not request communications with customers with the customer, so that would need to be a new request. Unless there's a different number that I'm just missing in your requests.
Your Honor, I'll double check it as long as
All right.
we're clear it's in play.
Oh yeah, if that came through as a request, and again, to number 33, that doesn't apply. But if that exists, then I'll make sure you get it.
That exists, yeah, I'd order it to be produced. Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah, it's just, again, my only issue is I don't think it's in any of the specific requests.
I'll double check the request, Your Honor, see if I find one that fits it. If not, I'll provide a specific one.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
sounds that we can agree with that.
There was also testimony about documents called job updates that might reference drive times for crews on locations. I've asked for those specific to this location.
The JSA should have been in your that should have been in the production that I sent you on Monday.
All right, check those and see, Mr. Holmes, if I'll order those. If not already, I'll order those to be produced.
Yeah, that's reasonable as well. I thought they were already produced, so.
And then the last one I think we have resolved, but Mr. Crum has testified that he stopped on the morning of the crash and made some purchases with his personal credit card or debit card. I've asked for those receipts. I've been told they've been requested. They've not been produced yet, but I would like an order granting that request for production.
Oh.
I will note that the current requests that are in play here are to Emerald Surf. What he's seeking is personal documentation from Hunter Crum that aren't referenced in the current motion to compel. But
If
I,
they request it, I'll go ahead and order them to be produced.
yeah, yeah. Again, I've already requested them from the client. As soon as we get them, I don't know if they're involved in another one, but either way, let's just get this resolved.
All right, very good.
I
Okay.
think there's a request out, but we'll make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, and Your Honor, time-wise, could we order these documents provided within 10 business days? That can be sufficient, Matthew?
Um, the stuff from Hunter Chrome might be a little harder. If we can do 3 weeks, just to make sure we're not being rushed. So, 15 business days,
15 business days. All right.
that would make them due on November 7th.
All right. Mr. Holmes, you provide an order in that matter.
I will, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. We'll stand in recess in these matters. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, John.